at the beginning of OTA's training camp, he spoke a lot about how he was bringing a similar playbook, but it seems like obviously was going to be tailored to the skill sets of the players. Without getting too much into scheme, can you kind of like in your eyes, can you kind of break down the major difference maybe from how Mike has left his imprint on this offense as opposed to the 49ers or various iterations of maybe the West Coast scheme?
I think every stop you make, you learn something about just the schematics of your offense, and you grow and evolve through the players you have. And I think that every stop that they were able to go on through their journey, they evolved with the players they had. And I think that's no different here of the evolution, we kind of did with all the guys we have. Everyone's got different skill sets. When we first came together, we didn't really know exactly what the roster was going to be. We had a blueprint for how we wanted to go about it, and just I think as each player gets assimilated to the program, and we constantly are trying to evolve to what they do best. And I think right now, I kind of flash back to the beginning of like when we started the in-season press conferences. We talked about, hey, quarter two, this time of year, you kind of really know what you got, and that's the challenge of I think most football teams is you rush to make decisions, or you can rush to eliminate players, where reality is it's going to take time in your first year to grow and to know what guys do under pressure, how guys perform in big games. And I think that's kind of like where we're at right now, is that you saw the end of really the second quarter, third quarter, we really started to figure out who we were as a football team, and how we needed to play, and then we continued to improve. And I think that's a total testament to the players we have here and how hard they work, and also just with Mike, just his constant evolution towards doing what is required. Not as we don't really believe in the saying here, well, that's just what we do. That's the way it's been done. It's always of what's best each week, and how do we put players in positions to maximize their skill set. So I think ultimately, circling back, I think that ultimately as we got here, and like from my perspective, looking at it with Mike, is that we are constantly trying to evolve what we do, and making sure that we are attacking the defense in a way that we're putting our players in best positions possible. And I think even if you go from a month ago to now, to what it's going to be in a month, to what it's going to be next year, it's going to always constantly be evolving to who do we have, who's available, what do they do well, not putting our guys in situations where we're asking them to do things that's maybe not what they do best. And I think that's the challenge of coaches, and I think that's the challenge of this league, is to be flexible and to evolve and to not be rigid, and to always have our growth and our process-based approach being the driving force to what we do. And I think that's why, I know for many people here, that's why this stop is different, because it's been kind of the basis of our program, and that's the vision that Mike's had from the beginning.
Frank, what's impressed you the most about Connor Williams?
His ability to, really be flexible, and overall his athletic skill set. When you look at a guy who plays sometimes it's interesting. It goes back down to when you get college tackles, sometimes it's like, are they tackles in the NFL? No, so you move them inside. And then sometimes they do well there, but you don't really know necessarily sometimes, where their best spot is. And like with Connor, like moving him in to center, just because when we were able to acquire all the pieces of the line, it just kind of like, well, he's got this skill set. He seems to be able to, so his ability to be flexible, and also the hardest part is when you're a pro player is be willing to be uncomfortable, because when we ask you to do something new, well, I've done this in the past, and now it's like, it's part of the process. Just learn, grow, and I think that's the greatest thing that he's been able to do, is be flexible through the process, because when you do something for so long, and then now we're asking you to do something different, is trusting, the people you're around. And I think that's been the greatest thing to him, because in the last, I'd say about month or so, you can really see, because the hardest thing when you play center in National Football League, practice is one thing, but then when you get into real games, that's when you really learn. I think that's what, kind of overriding is that's when you grow as a player and you grow as a team, you grow as an offense. Overriding, that's when we grow as a staff too. And I think that's what Connor's been able to do, be flexible, know that, okay, this happened and now this is the byproduct of this. And I think he's learned at such a tremendous rate, because in pro football, I think a lot of times guys are always rushing to make sure that, all right, I'm, steadfast in this spot. And with him, it's been really cool because he's moved and done such a great job and asked, and he has a call system working with the quarterback. Center has to know the game plan a little different than the other linemen, and I think his mental flexibility and also physical flexibility from moving from outside to in through his career. I mean, we couldn't be happier with what he's done. I mean, and I know that he's always striving to improve himself and what he's doing, but I mean, I know it's a really long answer to a short question, but ultimately it's like, well, that's what I do, one. But then two, it's, I mean, for him, it's just been so awesome to watch a guy, a veteran, take on a challenge and really do it at a level that's really exceeding our expectations, because we always thought he was going to be good at it, but it's like he's really, in the last month, you're seeing him to be able to take the next step in his play.
Frank, do you guys plan to give Austin Jackson any practice reps at left guard, obviously knowing you have less depth there with Liam out?
We have contingency plans to all things, so we will make sure that we have all bases covered going forward, but our ultimate goal is to play the best five that we're going to be able to help us win on Sunday.
And the five obviously played very well against Cleveland. Do you envision rolling with that group for another week off how they played against the Browns?
You're enjoying this, aren't you, Dan?
I am. It seems logical, but it's worth asking.
We will make sure that we do our due diligence and putting our best five out there.
How do you compare where this offensive line is today to when you were, say, going back to the spring or summer, and you had probably a lot of questions going in?
I think offensive line play is always, it's an interesting process, because, the days you feel like you have it mastered, the next day you can easily be humbled because you're requiring five guys to work together, which is different than almost all of the positions outside of the defensive backs, where with the nickel defense, they need five working together for coverage. Offensive line play, you need five working together, especially in pass protection. And we always had good belief that when the five would be able to play together, or just our system is able to help guys do their job over and over again, that we hoped that we would be able to have the kind of versatility through, because that's kind of in the past what Mike and Kyle were able to do through the other stops, is they have versatility through linemen playing through our system, through our scheme. And, ultimately, the different variations we've had of the line this year, hell, I don't think we would have saw a lot of the stuff coming. But, and the only thing constant in the NFL is change. So we made sure that, in the spring, we're just trying to make sure we're teaching core fundamentals and constantly reiterate that over and over and over again, because at this time of year, players can still get better. And that's been the one positive thing is with the group. Through the ebbs and flows of the season, we feel that at the critical time where we needed to get better, we did. And right now is hoping we're able to build upon the Cleveland game. And when we have a productive game in pass protection and running the football, okay, now the challenge is you're only as good as what you do today. So, trying to replicate what you did last week is always a challenge. It's more of trying to improve upon it and, raise the standard to what the group and what the offense and what the team is requiring. So, yeah, we had a vision for a positive outlook, and obviously last week it felt pretty good for the line and how they were able to perform.
Frank, through 10 games, what's been the story for the offense, do you think?
I think, it's really a kind of a story of an NFL season. You have success, then you have your adversity, and then how do you respond to that, and then you really manage things game by game, and then you try and make it not too big, all right, not make it too small. You try and really just understand that the most precious thing we have in professional sports is the present, and you maximize that. That's when you bank days to allow you to be able to play in important games like hopefully right now we're building towards. And I think the story of the season for the offense is responding to the challenge, responding to the standard that was set in spring by the players, by everyone together. And it's just been awesome to watch them respond to an NFL season together. And, you know, the characters are ever changing in the stories. There are some constants, but, you know, ultimately it's, you know, if you have a great script, you know, you need the great actors to fulfill, to make the lines come to life. And that's kind of really been this season. You're seeing the story of our actors taking the script to life. And, you know, hopefully we can take these last couple games, really the month of November, and really kind of finish off the month the way we want it to end. And then now get into the month of December where, you know, everything matters. So.
Two final questions.
You went deep with that metaphor.
You know, I had a couple. I've slept.
One of those new actors, Jeff Wilson, has anything surprised you with him, getting him incorporated so quickly?
Not really from what the guys who were with him in San Francisco were able to really describe. I mean, kind of the hardest thing, and you know, is sometimes when you acquire guys, you don't have a familiarity with them, and obviously having multiple guys on this staff and players that were with them in San Francisco, I think we knew what we were going to get. We're just fortunate enough that the situation presented itself to get him, especially at this time of year when you have hope for your future, and then you can bring guys in that really can help cement where you want to go through their style of play and then who they are as teammates. So I think that we were fortunate enough that the situation presented itself, and then lucky his energy as to each day is awesome. I mean, just a guy whose story is like so many on this football team, it's, you know, earning it. And I think that as we always remember that through, especially each week, we got to earn it every day. I don't think you lose track of the success you have, and you're always humbled to prove it again and again and again.
Frank, what can you say about the play of Trent Sherfield? Caught his first touchdown against the Browns, but, you know, might have not have started as high on the depth chart, but has really taken hold of that third receiver spot.
Yeah, it's another guy. I mean, just like these guys who come in through different roles, and obviously your roles evolve and change as you know, you perform. And just what a team first guy, a physical player. You know, being able to come here with the experience, obviously with Wes and Mike and John from San Francisco. I mean, knowing the player and just knowing his growth, like not surprised at all, especially with a lot of the things we asked of wide receivers to do, and you know how physical he is in this game, and then now being able to see the production come in the passing game is just awesome. I mean, you can't say enough about the guy. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have him here, and you know, he's one of those guys that, you know, maybe his stat line doesn't really show sometimes how valuable they are to us, but it's like he's one of those guys that is really an integral part to our offense, and I think he's an excellent teammate, and he's one of those guys that, you know, you're going to remember, you know, years after this team, you know, gets reshuffled or you move on. As you look back, you're going to remember he's one of the guys that you'll always remember for his love of the game, because you can tell guys who love the game do the little things that, you know, don't show up on the stat line. You know what I mean? Like wide receivers block, running backs do obviously pass protection, offensive linemen finish down the field. Like there's just little things you can see in their play that really show their love of football, and he's one of them.